Stop everything you are doing right now. I need you to listen to me, and I am not speaking of the way you hear the noise of this world that simply passes through your ears and fades away before it ever reaches your soul. I mean, listen to me the way you heard your own name being whispered in the dark 3 nights ago. When you woke up at an hour you cannot explain, your heart hammering, your breath shallow, your eyes wide open, staring at a ceiling that suddenly felt like the very floor of heaven. That was not a dream. That was not anxiety. That was not the echo of something you watched before drifting off to sleep. That was me. That was my voice cutting through every wall, every barrier, every lie the enemy has wrapped around your mind to keep you deaf to the one sound that could change everything. And here you are now, not by accident, not by some algorithm, not because an invisible machine decided to push this into your feed. You are here because a sword has been forged with your name on it, and before midnight strikes, before the clock crosses into a new day, that sword must be placed in your hands, or the window closes, and the enemy gains ground he was never meant to possess. I know you feel the weight of those words. I know something in your chest just tightened, not with fear but with recognition, the way your body responds when it finally hears a truth it has been starving for. Do not scroll away. Do not let the restless voice in your head convince you this is like everything else you have seen. This is the moment the entire army of darkness has been trying to prevent. They knew this message would find you. They have been working overtime to make sure you were too tired, too distracted, too numb, too discouraged to be here right now. And yet, here you are. That alone tells me something about you that you have not yet fully understood about yourself. You are not ordinary. You have never been ordinary. The pain you carry, the loneliness that wraps around you like a second skin, the feeling that the world has moved on without you and nobody looked back, all of that was engineered. It was a deliberate, calculated, strategic assault on your identity, designed to make you forget who you are so you would never reach for the weapon that has always been yours. But tonight, the forgetting ends. Tonight, Saint Michael the Archangel himself stands at the threshold of your life, holding a blade of fire, and he is not leaving until you reach out and take it. I have watched you, and I do not mean the way the world watches, with judgment, with impatience, with that cold indifference that makes you feel like a ghost walking among the living. I have watched you the way only a father watches a child who is fighting a battle no one else can see. I have seen you smile in rooms where your heart was shattering. I have seen you hold others up when your own knees were buckling. I have seen you pray in whispers so broken that the words barely formed, and yet every single one of those whispers reached me like a roar. You think your prayers have been too small, too stammered, too soaked in doubt to matter. Let me tell you something that will rearrange everything you believe about yourself. Your weakest prayer shook thrones in the invisible realm. Your most uncertain cry for help mobilized armies you cannot see. The enemy did not attack you this hard because you are failing. He attacked you this hard because your prayers are working, and he is terrified of what happens next. You have been living under siege without knowing it. The exhaustion that seems to have no medical explanation, the doors that keep closing no matter how hard you knock, the relationships that crumble just when you think you have found solid ground, the financial pressure that tightens like a vice every time you think you are about to breathe. None of that is natural. None of that is coincidence. None of that is the universe being random and cruel. There is an intelligence behind your suffering, and that intelligence has a name, and that name trembles at the mention of Saint Michael. I see the tears you have cried when no one was looking. Not the tears that fall at funerals or in sad movies. Those are easy tears, public tears, tears that others understand and validate. I'm talking about the other tears, the ones that come at 2 in the morning when the house is silent and the loneliness is so thick you can almost touch it. The ones that fall when you are standing in the shower and the water hides them, and you tell yourself it does not count because no one saw. The ones that burn your eyes when you see someone else living the life you prayed for, not because you begrudge them, but because the ache of wanting something and never having it is a kind of death that repeats itself every single day. I see those tears. I have collected every single one. In the realm you cannot see, your tears are not wasted water. They are currency. They are seeds. They are liquid prayers more powerful than any words your mouth could form. and they have been planting a harvest so enormous that your current suffering is not even a fraction of a percent of what is coming to you in return. But you need to hear me say it, because the enemy has been whispering the opposite for so long that his lies feel more real than my truth. He told you that you are forgotten. He told you that your best days are behind you. He told you that the ache in your chest is permanent, that the loneliness is your destiny, that the people who left you did so because you were not enough. And the cruelest part of his strategy is that he used your own voice to deliver those lies. He did not come to you with horns and fire. He came to you disguised as your own thoughts, your own inner critic, your own reflection in the mirror, whispering words of worthlessness until you could no longer distinguish his voice from yours. That ends now. I am separating his voice from yours tonight with surgical precision, and the instrument I am using is the very sword that St. Michael is holding at your door. But you need to understand the weight of this moment. You need to understand that what I am offering you is not a casual blessing, not a spiritual pat on the back, not a feel-good moment that fades by morning. This is a weapon. This is a transfer of authority. This is the archangel of war placing in your hands the very blade that casts darkness out of heaven. And when you receive it, things in your life will change so fast and so dramatically that the people around you will not be able to explain it. Some will call it luck. Some will call it coincidence. Some will be jealous and will try to convince you that you do not deserve it. But you will know, deep in your spirit, in that place where my voice reaches even when your mind is full of noise, you will know that the sword did its work. Now I need to give you a warning, and I need you to take this warning as seriously as you have ever taken anything in your life. This message is not entertainment. This is not content. This is not background noise for you to play while you do something else. If you are hearing these words and you minimize this, if you let it play while you scroll through other things, if you treat this like just another video in an endless stream, you will miss the transfer. The sword requires your full attention, because attention is agreement. When you give me your attention, you are saying yes. When you look away, you are saying not now. And the enemy is counting on not now, because not now is the most dangerous phrase in the spiritual language. Not now killed more destinies than outright rebellion ever could. The people who said no to heaven at least made a decision. The people who said not now made no decision at all, and their lives drifted into a grey wasteland where nothing is terrible enough to demand change and nothing is good enough to feel like living. I refuse to let you drift. That is why this message found you with such force tonight. That is why something in your gut is telling you to stay, to listen, to pay attention, even if your logical mind is trying to argue. Your logical mind has been wrong about you for years. It told you to play it safe. It told you to lower your expectations. It told you that the dreams you once had were childish and impractical. Your logical mind built a cage and called it realism, and you have been sitting in that cage so long you forgot that the door was never locked. The sword St. Michael carries tonight is not for fighting an enemy outside of you, at least not only that. The first thing that blade cuts is the cage. The first enemy it strikes is the false version of yourself that you have been living as, the small, tired, apologetic, permission-seeking shadow of the giant you were born to be. When that false self falls, and it will fall tonight if you let it, what rises in its place will frighten the very demons that have been tormenting you. They will scatter, not because you became religious, but because you became real, because you stopped performing and started reigning, because you took back the authority that was stripped from you by trauma, by betrayal, by the slow erosion of hope that comes from living in a world that does not know how to see what heaven sees. I know you have been asking why. Why has it taken so long? Why have the promises felt like mirages, shimmering on the horizon but vanishing every time you get close? Why have you watched others receive what you begged for while you stood empty-handed and tried to pretend you were happy for them when inside you were dying? The answer to why is not what you expect. The delay was not punishment. The delay was not indifference. The delay was not a sign that I had forgotten your name or misplaced your file in some cosmic bureaucracy. The delay was the most aggressive act of love I could perform for you, and I need you to understand this, because if you do not understand the delay, you will not be able to carry the blessing. Imagine a soldier being handed the most powerful weapon ever forged before completing basic training. Imagine a child being given the keys to a kingdom before learning what a kingdom even is. The weapon would destroy the soldier. The kingdom would crush the child. Not because the weapon or the kingdom were bad, but because the hands receiving them were not yet ready. And your hands, my beloved, have been in training. Every tear was a strengthening of your soul. Every betrayal was a lesson in discernment that will save you from worse betrayals ahead. Every closed door was a redirection away from a path that looked beautiful on the surface, but was mined with destruction underneath. Every night you spent wondering if anyone cared was a night your roots were growing deeper into a soil so rich that when the rain finally comes, and it is coming, the growth will be so explosive that what took others decades will happen for you in a single season. The delay was not cruelty. The delay was craftsmanship. I was not ignoring you. I was sculpting you. I was burning away everything that was not truly you, every false belief, every borrowed identity, every defense mechanism you built to survive a world that hurt you before you were old enough to understand pain. And now the sculpture is nearly complete. The fire has done its work, the clay is hard and beautiful and ready, and the sword that St. Michael holds is the final piece, the instrument that will carve the last details into your destiny and seal you as finished, not perfect in the way the world demands perfection, but complete in the way heaven defines it, whole, unbroken in spirit, fierce in love, unshakable in purpose. And I want you to know something that the spiritual world trembles when spoken aloud. What is happening in the invisible realm right now, as you listen to these words, is not subtle, it is not gentle, it is war. It is... St. Michael stands at the front of a formation so vast that if your eyes were open to see it, you would fall to your knees, not in fear, but in awe that such an army was assembled for someone who thought they were nobody. Thousands upon thousands of angelic warriors, each one burning with a light that makes the sun look like a candle, each one armed with weapons forged in the furnace of divine justice, each one assigned to a specific area of your life that the enemy has occupied illegally. And at the center of that formation, St. Michael holds your sword. It is not like the others. It was forged specifically for the battles you face, tempered in the fire of your specific tears, sharpened by the prayers you thought went unheard. This sword knows your enemies by name. It knows the pattern of their attacks. It knows the weak points in their armor, because every time they struck you and you survived, their strategy was recorded and analyzed and turned into intelligence that is now encoded in the blade itself. Your suffering was not wasted. It was weaponized. Every wound became data. Every scar became a map. And now the sword carries all of that knowledge, and when it is placed in your hands, you will know how to wield it instinctively because you have been training for this your entire life without knowing it. In this very moment, as these words wash over you, I need you to understand something about the battle that has been raging over your life in a dimension you cannot see with human eyes. There is a courtroom in the heavens, and your case has been on trial. The accuser has stood before the throne night after night, presenting evidence against you. Every mistake you ever made, every sin you committed in secret, every moment you chose fear over faith, every time you almost gave up and whispered that maybe it would be better if you simply disappeared. He presented it all with the cold precision of a prosecutor who has been building a case for years. And for a time the evidence mounted and the shadows thickened, and you felt the weight of it in your waking life as that nameless heaviness that presses down on your chest when you open your eyes in the morning. But what the accuser did not count on, what he never counted on, is that the judge is also the father. And a father does not condemn his child based on evidence gathered by an enemy who wants that child dead. The case was thrown out. Not because the evidence was false, some of it was true, you did fall, you did fail, you did wander, but because the blood that covers you is older and stronger and more legally binding than any accusation the darkness can bring. And when the verdict was read, when the gavel came down, St. Michael drew his sword, and the sound it made as it left the sheath was a frequency that shattered chains in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Chains you did not even know were on you, chains that were placed on your bloodline generations before you were born, chains that explained why certain patterns kept repeating no matter how hard you tried to break them, addictions that seemed to have a mind of their own, poverty that clung to your family like a genetic disease, relationships that always ended in the same devastating way. Those chains did not belong to you. They were inherited, and tonight they are not being loosened. They are not being weakened, they are being incinerated. St. Michael's sword does not negotiate with bondage, it annihilates it. And now I must speak to you about something that will protect you in the days ahead, because the blessing that is about to be released into your life is so significant that the enemy will attempt one final assault before it manifests. There exists a guide, a sacred manual, that details the 7 swords of St. Michael, each one designed for a specific warfare over your life, whether it be the sword that cuts envy and the evil eye from your path, or the sword that seals the blessings over your household, so nothing can steal them, or the sword that activates the ancient calling placed on your bloodline before the foundations of time. This digital book, The 7 Swords of St. Michael Archangel, the sacred guide to breaking curses, sealing blessings, and activating the calling of the chosen, was written for exactly this moment in your journey. It reveals the rules of spiritual warfare that no one taught you, the protocols of heaven that explain why some prayers work instantly and others seem to vanish, the specific ways the enemy has been exploiting gaps in your spiritual armor that you did not even know existed. The link to receive this guide is at the very top of the comments, the first one pinned to this channel. I must tell you that this content challenges narratives that powerful forces prefer to keep hidden, and there have already been attempts to silence it. But the truth has a way of finding the ones who need it most. And the fact that you are here hearing this now is proof that no algorithm and no gatekeeper can stop what heaven has ordained. Download it now and leave a comment that says, "I am chosen," and I will download the digital book. That act is not mere words on a screen. It is a declaration that the invisible world registers as a battle cry, and when the enemy sees it, he will know that you are no longer asleep, no longer passive, no longer the easy target he thought you were. And now, with that act of faith burning in your chest, let me take you deeper into what is unfolding. The sword St. Michael holds for you tonight has 7 edges, and each edge corresponds to a dimension of your life that is about to be violently restored. I use the word violently not to frighten you, but to prepare you. The restoration coming to your life is not going to be polite. It is not going to tiptoe through your circumstances and gently rearrange things over the next several years. It is going to erupt. It is going to break through the surface of your reality like a volcanic force that has been building pressure underground for so long that when it finally finds a crack, the eruption reshapes the entire landscape. The first edge of the sword cuts the cord between you and every person who has been draining your energy without your knowledge. You know the feeling. You spend time with certain people, and afterward you feel hollowed out, exhausted in a way that sleep cannot fix, as if something vital was siphoned from you during the conversation. That is not social fatigue. That is spiritual theft. There are people in your life, and some of them wear friendly faces, who are unconsciously, and in some cases consciously feeding on your anointing. They were drawn to you not because they loved you, but because they sensed the light in you. And they are addicted to proximity to that light because their own inner darkness is so complete that they need your energy to function. The first edge of the sword severs those connections tonight. In the coming days, you will notice shifts. People who called regularly will suddenly go silent. Invitations you used to receive will stop coming. Social circles will rearrange themselves without any dramatic confrontation. Do not mourn these losses. Do not chase after people who are being removed. The surgeon does not apologize for cutting away the tumor. The gardener does not weep when pruning the branches that are stealing nutrients from the fruit. What feels like loss is liberation, and the energy that was being drained from you will flood back into your body, your mind, your creativity, your passion, and you will feel a vitality you have not felt in years, maybe decades, maybe ever. The second edge of the sword strikes the spirit of financial strangulation that has been wrapped around your resources like a python slowly tightening its grip. Let me describe what the enemy has been doing to your money, because once you see it, you will never unsee it. Every time you receive, something unexpected consumes it. A bill you did not anticipate, a repair you cannot postpone, a need from someone else that makes you feel guilty if you do not help. The money comes in and the money goes out, and you are left standing in the same place, running on a treadmill that moves just fast enough to keep you breathless, but never carries you forward. That is not bad luck. That is a spirit of devouring, and it has been assigned to your finances specifically because the enemy knows that financial freedom in your hands would fund things that terrify the kingdom of darkness. You would give generously. You would build things that help people. You would create opportunities for others who are trapped in the same cycle. The enemy is not just fighting your prosperity, he is fighting the prosperity of everyone your prosperity would touch. But the second edge of the sword cuts that python tonight. It does not merely wound it, it severs the head, and a headless serpent cannot squeeze. In the days and weeks ahead, you will begin to notice a strange new pattern. Money will come from directions you did not plant in. Debts that seemed permanent will be resolved through means you cannot explain. Opportunities that are perfectly tailored to your skills will appear with a timing so precise that coincidence becomes an absurd explanation. Do not be surprised. Do not feel guilty. Do not shrink back and wonder if you deserve it. The harvest does not ask the seed if it feels worthy of growing. It simply grows because the conditions are right, and the conditions of your life are about to become impossibly, undeniably, almost aggressively right. The third edge of the sword pierces the veil over your mind that has kept you from seeing your own value. This is perhaps the cruelest weapon in the enemy's arsenal, the mirror of distortion. He placed it in front of you years ago, maybe in childhood, maybe through the words of a parent who did not know how to love without wounding, maybe through the cruelty of peers who sensed your difference and punished you for it, maybe through a lover who dismantled your self-worth so methodically that you mistook the demolition for intimacy. Whatever the source, the mirror has been showing you a version of yourself that does not exist. You have been looking at a caricature, a shrunken, defeated, flawed beyond repair version of a person who in reality carries enough light to illuminate entire cities. The third edge of the sword shatters that mirror tonight, and when it shatters, the sound will echo through your memories, and moments you interpreted as proof of your inadequacy will suddenly reframe themselves. You will remember the time you were rejected and realize you were redirected. You will remember the time you failed and realize you were being taught. You will remember the words that wounded you and realize they came from mouths that were themselves wounded, and the pain was never about you, it was always about them. The fourth edge of the sword falls on the spirit of delay and stagnation that has made you feel like everyone around you is moving forward, while you stand frozen in place. You watch others buy homes, start families, build businesses, take vacations, celebrate milestones, and you smile and congratulate them, while inside a voice whispers, "Why not me? When is it my turn? Did I miss my window? Is it too late?" That voice is a liar, and tonight the fourth edge of the sword strikes it mute. Your season is not over. Your season has not even properly begun. What you have experienced so far was pre-season, and no one builds a legacy in pre-season. The game is about to start, and you are not a spectator. You are the one the crowd has been waiting for without knowing it. The fifth edge of the sword targets the spirit of sickness and physical deterioration that has been attacking your body as a way to attack your purpose. The enemy knows that a sick warrior cannot fight, a tired prophet cannot speak, an exhausted builder cannot build. So he has targeted your body, your sleep, your energy, your health, with subtle attacks designed to keep you just functional enough to survive, but never strong enough to thrive. Aches that have no diagnosis, fatigue that sleep does not cure, a heaviness in your body that feels like you are carrying invisible weight everywhere you go. The fifth edge of the sword commands restoration to your physical body. Cells that have been deteriorating will begin to regenerate. Sleep will become deep and restorative again. Energy will return not as a caffeine spike, but as a deep, sustained vitality that rises from a spirit that is finally free. You will feel the change in your body before any doctor can measure it, because divine healing does not wait for medical confirmation. It moves first in the spirit, then in the body, and by the time the natural world catches up, you are already walking in a strength you forgot you had. The sixth edge of the sword is aimed at the spirit of relational sabotage that has poisoned your connections with the people who were supposed to journey with you. Some of you have experienced a pattern so painful that you have almost stopped trying. You open your heart, you invest, you give, you trust, And then the betrayal comes. Not always dramatic, sometimes it is subtle. A slow withdrawal, a growing coldness, an unexplained distance that widens until you are standing alone again, wondering what you did wrong. The truth is, you did nothing wrong. The spirit of relational sabotage enters through soul ties that were formed in past connections, and it poisons new relationships from the inside before they have a chance to grow. The sixth edge of the sword cuts every ungodly soul tie tonight. Every invisible thread connecting you to past lovers, past friendships, past alliances that left residue on your soul is being severed right now. And as those threads fall away, you will feel a lightness in your emotional body that makes room for the connections heaven has been preparing for you. The right people are already in motion toward you. You have not met some of them yet. Others are already in your life, but the connection has been blocked by the interference of those old ties. When the ties are cut, the signal clears, and relationships will begin to form and deepen with a speed and authenticity that will feel almost supernatural because it is. And the seventh edge, the final and most powerful edge of the sword, strikes the root. Every tree of affliction in your life has a root system, and that root system extends back through your generational line, through your parents and their parents and their parents before them, all the way back to an original act of rebellion or covenant breaking that gave the enemy legal access to your bloodline. You have been fighting branches. You have been cutting leaves. You have been managing symptoms of a disease whose origin predates your birth. The seventh edge of the sword does not trim branches. It does not pluck leaves. It goes underground, beneath the surface of what you can see and understand, and it strikes the root with a fire so intense that the root is not merely cut, but cauterized, sealed so completely that nothing can ever grow from it again. Generational curses, generational patterns, generational limitations, they end with you. Not because you are stronger than your ancestors, but because you are the one who was chosen to stand at this moment in the bloodline and say no more. You are the firewall. You are the circuit breaker. You are the one your great-grandchildren will look back on and call the turning point, the one who received the sword and used it, the one who broke the cycle not through willpower, but through surrender to a power so much greater than any human effort that resistance was never a realistic option for the enemy. And now I must prepare you for what comes after the sword does its work, because the restoration is going to be overwhelming in the most beautiful way, and you need to be ready to receive without guilt, without sabotage, without the old reflex of pushing good things away because you are not used to having them. Everything that was stolen from you is coming back. I do not mean that symbolically. I do not mean that in a vague, spiritual, maybe someday sense. I mean that the actual substance of what was taken, the years of joy, the financial provision, the relational richness, the health, the peace, the creative fire, the opportunities, is being gathered right now by angels who specialize in restoration, and they are carrying it toward your life with the urgency of soldiers delivering supplies to a city that has been under siege. The siege is over, the supply lines are open, and the abundance that is about to flow into your life is not measured by your standards of what would be nice or comfortable. It is measured by heaven's standard of what is just, and heaven's justice is extravagant. Where you lost one, you will receive 7. Where you were humiliated, you will be honored publicly. Where you were passed over, you will be chosen first. Where you were silenced, you will be given a platform so vast that your voice reaches people you have never met in places you have never been. The people who dismissed you will witness your elevation, and they will not be able to deny it. Some of them will come back and try to reconnect, not because they suddenly developed loyalty, but because they are attracted to the anointing that is now visible on your life. You will need the discernment of the sword to know who is returning out of genuine repentance and who is returning because they want access to what you carry. The sword will give you that discernment. It will sharpen your intuition to a razor's edge so that you can feel the difference between someone who loves you and someone who loves what you have. And let me speak now about the peace that is coming, because all the warfare and the swords and the battles might make you think that the destination is more fighting. It is not. The destination is peace, not the peace the world offers, which is really just the absence of obvious conflict, a temporary ceasefire between rounds of chaos. The peace I am bringing to your life is structural. It is foundational. It is the kind of peace that remains even when circumstances are turbulent, because it is not dependent on circumstances. It is dependent on the unshakable knowledge that you are held, that you are seen, that you are armed, and that nothing, no force in any realm, visible or invisible, present or future, can separate you from the love that set this entire rescue mission in motion. This peace will change the way you sleep. You will close your eyes and fall into rest so deep that your body heals faster, your mind processes clearly, and your spirit receives instructions in dreams that you will remember when you wake. This peace will change the way you move through the world. The anxiety that has been your constant companion, that low-grade hum of dread that makes you brace for the next bad thing, even when things are going well, will go silent. Not because you will suppress it, but because it will have no legal right to remain once the sword has cut its root. The peace will change the way you relate to other people. You will stop performing. You will stop curating a version of yourself that you think others will accept. You will simply be fully and unapologetically, and the people who are meant for you will be drawn to the unfiltered truth of who you are, like moths to a flame that does not burn, but illuminates. And this brings me back to the urgency of equipping yourself fully for what lies ahead. Everything I have described, the 7 edges of the sword, the warfare in the courts of heaven, the breaking of generational chains, these are not abstract spiritual metaphors. They are precise operations that follow specific protocols, and those protocols are detailed in the digital book, The 7 Swords of St. Michael Archangel. Each sword corresponds to a specific battlefield in your life, and the book walks you through the activation of each one with clarity and power that transforms knowing into doing. You do not want to enter this new season armed with only half the knowledge. The enemy adapts, he regroups, and when he sees that the first wave of his attack has failed, he will attempt strategies you have not encountered before. The book prepares you for those strategies. It teaches you the rules of engagement that have been kept from the general public, not by conspiracy, but by the simple fact that most people are not ready to handle this level of spiritual truth. But you are ready. You proved it by staying this long. You proved it by the tears that may be on your face right now. You proved it by the fire in your spirit that is growing with every word you hear. Go to the top of the comments, where the first pinned link awaits. Download the guide and write in the comments "I am chosen," and I will download the digital book. Let those words leave your fingers and enter the record of heaven, because what you declare with intention becomes a weapon in itself, and the enemy cannot unhear your declaration. Now, carrying the fire of that commitment in your chest, let me seal what has begun tonight, with decrees that will not return empty. These words are not suggestions. They are not wishes. They are not hopes tossed into the wind. They are decrees spoken with the full authority of the one who set the stars in their courses and called every atom into existence by name. And when a decree goes forth from this throne, it does not ask permission of circumstances. It does not negotiate with obstacles. It does not slow down when it encounters resistance. It moves through the fabric of reality like the sword through the darkness, cutting a path that nothing can close. I decree that the season of weeping is over for you. Not gradually, not eventually. Now. The tears that fall from this moment forward will be tears of wonder, tears of gratitude, tears that come from a heart so overwhelmed by goodness that it cannot contain the flood. The mourning garment is being removed from your shoulders, and in its place a robe of celebration is being draped, and it fits you perfectly because it was tailored in heaven by hands that know every measurement of your soul. I decree that confusion is leaving your mind tonight. The fog that has made every decision feel impossible. The paralysis that has kept you standing at crossroads unable to move. The mental exhaustion of overanalyzing and second-guessing and catastrophizing. It is being cleared by a wind from the east that carries the clarity of divine wisdom. Tomorrow you will wake up and you will know. Not everything. That is not how wisdom works. But you will know the next step, and the next step is all you need, because each step reveals the one after it, and before you realize it, you have walked into a destiny that once felt impossibly far away. I decree that your body is healed. Whatever name the doctors have given it, whatever label has been attached to your condition, whatever prognosis has been spoken over your physical future, I override it tonight with the authority that created the body in the first place. Cells respond to their maker. Organs obey their designer. The body that has been breaking down is being rebuilt from the blueprint of divine intent, and that blueprint does not include disease, does not include chronic pain, does not include the slow decay that the enemy has been accelerating. You will feel strength returning to places that have been weak. You will notice improvement before your next appointment, and when the medical professionals see the change, they will use words like unexpected and remarkable, and they will search for a natural explanation because the supernatural truth is too large for their framework. But you will know, and that knowing is enough. I decree that the finances are turning. The dam that has been holding back your provision is cracking tonight, and the first drops are already finding their way through. Within days, the trickle becomes a stream. Within weeks, the stream becomes a river. Within months, the river becomes an ocean so vast that your biggest problem will not be scarcity, but stewardship. Figuring out how to manage an overflow you never imagined was possible. Debts will be cancelled. Opportunities will multiply. Doors that were sealed shut will not just open but will be removed from their hinges entirely, so they can never close on you again. I decree that the right people are entering your life now. Soul connections forged in heaven before either of you was born. People who will see you, truly see you. Not the mask, not the performance, not the curated version, but the raw, real, messy, magnificent truth of who you are, and they will love what they see because they were designed to love what they see.